Hello, and welcome to episode 319 of The Joy of Coding. How's it going? My name is Mike Conley. It's so good to have you here. We're going to be hacking on some Firefox stuff today. I'm starting a little bit late today. I apologize for that. Dealing with some minor technical foul-ups, but I think I've come out the other side of that. Hopefully you can see and or hear me wherever this stream is being broadcast to, which I think should still be Air Mozilla, YouTube, and Twitch, and Diode.zone. Let me start by sharing my screen. One moment. Here we go. Let's look at the agenda. Today is March 22nd, 2023. It's episode 319. A reminder, no plan survives breakfast. As you can tell, I'm kind of doing this on, flying by the seat of my pants here. I'm doing my best to capture software development in the raw, which means that things might go wrong. The stream might fall over, might have some technical challenges. I might have cables all in the way. But that's okay. We're just going to figure it out as we go. That's the name of the game here. The second thing is that the agenda that we're looking at is something that you have access to. So it's got lots of handy links and stuff that you might want to click on, or as I fill out what's going on during the episode, you might want to follow along and click things and whatnot. And that happens pretty, regularly as the episode progresses. This will synchronize, and then if you go to the Joy of Coding website, you can see that there is the episode agenda here. That's also available depending on where you're watching this stream. If you're watching this on YouTube, it's in the video description. Same with Diode.zone. If you're on Air Mozilla, it'll be over in the details section, and if you're on Twitch, it's down in the channel details. You can find the link to the agenda, and there's lots of good stuff in there. Okay, wow, that's a lot of preamble. And is my microphone really hot? Am I peaking? I'm noticing some red lines. Do I sound okay to people? Let me know. Let me know if it's coming in a little too hot, and I'll adjust. So what are we working on today? It's been a couple of episodes, it's been a couple of weeks. I've had various things get in the way, preventing me from streaming. We're back, and we're still working on these Windows jump lists, although I will mention that next week I am traveling and won't be able to stream. Sorry, so one more week of an absence. But where were we with this Windows jump list stuff? Well, as you recall, we had been building out a shimming layer for, let me pull open my editor. We had this shimming layer. Oh wow, I've changed the display resolution, and this is completely unreadable. So just give me a quick sec here to try and improve this situation. Let me change this to be, what was it before? 1920 by 1200, that sounds reasonable. Yeah, this is more like it. So we were working on these, not the Chrome utils, the Chrome profile migrator stuff. We were working on jump list stuff. And we had built out this sort of interface in Jump List Builder and Jump List Builder.h. Here, they're down here. We built out this interface called Jump List Manager Base, which implemented or had the interface for a series of methods that we need from the sort of the MS-COM mechanism that we use to populate the jump list. And then we implemented Jump List Manager, effectively wrapping the MS-COM mechanism and calling into it, just basically passing arguments through to it. And the other thing we wanted to do was eventually to replace this in the testing scenario with a different jump list manager, one that instead of wrapping the MS-COM mechanism, wraps something that we can interrogate for information during a unit test in what's called a G test. So that was the plan. And last I checked, the problem we were having was that the build was failing during the linking step. And I apologize, in my rush to get everything ready, I didn't end up running a build. So we actually have to wait to get to that building step before we can actually see the error in action. But as I recall, the problem was that the linker was complaining that for some reason, this jump list manager wasn't correctly defined. Some part of it didn't exist during the linking step, and the C++ compiler LLVM, or sorry, the what's called Clang, was not very happy with that. It gave us a rather cryptic error message, and so we'll probably end up seeing that again once we end up building that part, but we're not there yet. So while we're waiting, let's come up with something more useful to do. Yes, I have something else we can do while we wait. So I apologize if you came here for jump list stuff. We're gonna work on something slightly different while we wait for that build to complete. Let me pump up the font, and I will introduce you to the thing that we're working on instead. Whoops. So the thing we're going to be working on instead is part of a series of changes that we're making to the migration dialog. Maybe you've heard me talking about the migration dialog. Maybe you've seen me working on it in past episodes. I know I've certainly I think reviewed some patches from the migration dialog in past episodes. What we're doing is we're trying to revamp the migration dialog to look a bit more modern. The existing one, if you look at it, is very old school. In fact, let's show it to you. Let's show you the old one and then the new one. So if you're not familiar with the old migration dialog, I have to flip a pref to turn off the new one. Hold on. Migrate. The old migration dialog looks like this. It's this top level Zool native looking window. There's some checkboxes you can choose. Hey, I want to import from, I don't know, Vivaldi, and then you can choose the items that you want to import from, and then you run through some steps, and it gives you some status updates. The new and improved migration dialog is embedded in About Preferences for now, and it kind of looks like this, where you can choose, hey, I want to import from Vivaldi, and these are the things I want to import from, and then you press the button and it's done. And it also allows you to choose which profile from which browser, which is nice. I'm going to just use the internal testing migrator, which doesn't actually migrate anything, but you'll get to see the sort of the effect. So we choose the internal testing migrator. I choose these things as the things that I want to migrate. I press import, and then it's done. Although in this case, because it was the testing migrator, nothing actually got migrated. And that's the idea of the new migrator UI. And we've been working on this with some students from Cal State LA. They've been working really hard on it. And the thing I wanted to do with it was related to part of the specification. Let's pull up part of the specification here. Part of the specification involves showing a particular message whenever the history has been imported. In particular, we want to say, instead of saying how many visits are imported, we want to say the time range from which we've imported things. And a recent patch made it so that we will attempt to import at most the last 180 days of history. And so we want to update the UI, which currently, if you look at it, we're using the internal testing one, it just says 0 visits. We don't want to say the number of visits anymore. We want to say, from the last such and such days. So that is what I'm hoping to do right now. So let's do that. First of all, I think I need to file a bug for it because I don't think one has been filed for this particular part. A lot of closed bugs, a lot of hard work from our students and contributors working on this. So these are the blocking bugs. I'm going to add a new bug here, which is update progress strings for history and form data? What were the resource types? Wizard, constants, form data, yeah. And form data resource types in the new migration wizard. Okay. Currently, we show x visits and an empty string, and show x visits as the success message for importing history, and the empty string as status for importing form data. These strings should instead be let's just copy from the spec here. From the last 180 days. Let's just copy that. For history, where 180 needs to be replaced with the value from, and then the preference is like max age days. Not quite that pref. It's max age days. This build is a little behind. Max age. Is this also behind? This might be behind by a little bit. Yeah, 180-day history import limit. So SearchFox is a little interesting because it only indexes, I think, once or twice a day. So it can sometimes be a little bit behind if you're looking for changes that just landed, and these just landed. Okay, so value from this pref, and then we need, what's the string for form data? Just form history. For the form data progress message. Okay, so we're going to take this. It's a task, and let's get started. So I'm going to shut this down, and I'm going to check out a revision that's less fluid, because right now I'm on like kind of a fluid revision. Let's check out Central. No, actually, because these things have recently landed in Autoland, like they landed yesterday, and they're about to merge to Central, I'm going to base my work off of these. And what we'll do is we need to update the migration wizard parent. This is where the strings are selected for the different things being imported. In this particular case, for history, we want to, instead of get the imported count, we're going to get the preference from, was it migration utils? Age. History max age in days. Migration utils, max age in days. Let max age in days, max history age in days equals migration utils max age in days. Actually, we can probably make that more consistent. History max age in days. I don't even know if we're going to need that like utility variable there. What we're going to do is we're going to replace progress success history side of migration wizard.ftl. Instead of it being the number of visits, the string is from the last max age in days from the last day, and then other from the last max age in days. And then up here, we're going to pass in max age in days, and instead of having this utility variable, we can just pass that in directly like that. I think that'll do it. So how do we test that? Well, the good news is we can build and we can put our UI, the way that this UI has been designed is actually really nice for testing, because we made the migration wizard a reusable component, which means that it can be hosted in something called Storybook, which maybe you've heard me talk about in the past. I have Storybook running here. And so we can put the component into the state where it thinks it has succeeded in importing history. Oh, except that that's not the case because like the string is still coming from the parent. This is like, yeah, this is being provided from the parent. I apologize. So what we're going to do is we're going to do it like this. Internal testing migrator, just browsing history, import from the last 180 days. There it is. And then we're going to, let's change that preference to max age in days. We're going to make it 1 day. Sure. From the last 1 day. Maybe instead of then, that's kind of awkward. Like, I can't imagine this number will ever be 1, but I guess we can say from the last day. Shown in the migration variables, max age in days, the number of days, the maximum number of days of history that might be imported. This is a preference value that well, maybe that's just enough. And when we do multiple lines, how does that work? With variables. Maybe we'll just keep it all in the same line. Okay. And then form autofilled data. We're going to do one here. Success. Form data equals, and then the string was form history. So we will return that from the migration wizard parent. We're going to add a case here, case, lazy, migration wizard constants, displayed resource types, form data, return lazy g fluent strings, format value. All right. Reload. There you go. Looking good. Form history from the last day. Let's reset this preference. Yeah, looks good. Okay. Feel pretty good about that. Let's see what we've got test-wise. We don't normally test strings, so this might be okay to just let slide, but let's just see what happens when we run our tests. Okay, we expected the empty string if the resource type isn't in resource types with quantities. I see. So there was a test for this in browser do migration. So we have to update our expectations here. Assert quantities shown 2012. Resource types with quantities. Score success message with a quantity. So we're going to add, well, history is in there. That's fine. Did we fail to... Found expected quantity and success string from the last 180 days. Ah, the expected quantity is different in this case. Expected quantity. So we need to special case. History is a special case that doesn't show the number of imported history entries, but instead shows how the maximum number of days of history that might have been imported. So if progress group data set resource type equals migration wizard constants displayed resource types history, then assert not equal success text index of migration utils history max age in days -1 found expected history maximum number of days of history success text. All right, let's take a look. See if that solves that one error. And then we'll do the next one. How are we doing on our build, by the way? Still building, but we are in parser. That's good. Okay, now we just have the one failure. 219. Oh, right, comma. Let's try that again. Now we just have this one failure where form history is not the empty string. So we're going to put in another condition. String for a resource type that's not in resource type, and you'll need to modify the function and check for that string. Okay. So else if progress group data set resource type is migration wizard constants displayed resource types form data else. Then we're going to assert, instead of showing the quantity, we're just going to show that the success assert equal success text is form history. Found expected form history string, form data string. It's kind of weird to test strings like that, but going to document the special cases here. Form data is another special case because we simply show form history as the success string rather than a particular quantity. All right. All right, let's run the whole suite again. Okay, we're at the point where we're doing XPCOM. That's good. That means we're close to linking, which means we're close to our error. All passed. Very good. I'm going to link to the spec here. I'm basing this work on this part of the spec. Then we're going to copy that. We're going to commit. Update success strings for history and form data. Resource imports in the new migration wizard. Let's get, I think Catherine. Let's get Catherine to review this. Actually, no, let's get Nick to review this. Or I've been hounding Catherine to review things, so maybe it's time to give Nick a chance to review this. Take a quick peek. All right. Let's go. Submit. Did we get our error yet? Almost. Memory, MFBT, that's really close to the end too. We're building tests. Various G tests. At some point we're going to try and link libzool, and that's where things go sideways. Okay, here we go. Building the exe, libzool, where is it? Where is this big, scary error? Also, while we're waiting for that. Did this end up landing? Yes, it did. That's good. If you're interested in testing out the new migration wizard, now's an excellent time to get a sneak preview of it. You can do that by going to here. New migration wizard. You can sneak peek by setting, what's the preference? That to true. In about config, no need to restart. Just do that in a nightly and you should be able to get it. And yeah, it's coming along. It's posted. Come on, build. What's happening here? I mean, what would be miraculous if this actually built successfully? Is that even possible? I'm pretty certain it failed for us last time. We could watch the tape if we wanted to double check. But if this somehow builds, that'd be incredible. It's like the problem solved itself, which is very unsatisfying, and yet it means we get to work on more interesting things, like actually writing the test. Oh, Danny Colin's typing. What's he typing? I wish we were using more consistently about preferences experimental. Yeah, that's true. Although I will say, if we were not sure about this new migrator, we'd probably put it under experimental. But we're reasonably certain that this is an improvement over the existing one. And so it's going to hope the plan, like, don't quote me on this exactly, but like the current rough plan is to have the new migration wizard go out in 1.14. So that's there's not going to be much time to do a whole lot of experimentation beyond a couple of smaller things. One of the things we are experimenting with, I can actually show you. So there are two different variations. Oh, hello, Amastack97. Happy to have you here if this is your first time. I am going to show you two variations we're testing on the main selection screen. This is one variation where you get the big list of things that you want to import. And then the second variation is you don't see the big list by default. We have them all checked by default, but you can expand this and then customize which ones you want to import. So we're going to try both. We're going to like do some experiments out in the wild and see if one seems to be preferred to the other by users. What's nice about this one is it's kind of less noisy, but it's still customizable. Like if I were to choose like Opera GX, it's just like, yeah, import everything. And it's really only whenever this gets, like, if this gets like very long, then all these checkboxes might be kind of exhausting for users. So that there's some thinking ahead there. That maybe it's best to do something like this, but we're going to run that as an experiment. So you can say like, okay, well, just save logins, please. Boop, 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 like that sort of thing. All right, how'd our build go? Okay, we got our build error. This is what I was looking for. And the problem is that there's an undefined symbol. That's what it was complaining about. And I just saw part of it fly by, and I think it might be relevant. The undefined symbol is the destructor of Jump List Manager base. Do I need to be saying that I'm overriding the destructor? Maybe. Equals default. I think that happens. Like, what do you think of that? Now will you let that build? If I say build widget, what do you think of that? So Amos Stack asked what we are working on. Well, it's so good to have you here, Amos Stack 97. What are we working on? We are working on an improvement to the API for the jump list in Windows, so that we don't have to do any work on the main thread. We can do it all off of the main thread, and that's good for performance. And now I built the widget folder, which is good, but now we have to actually build the libzool, which happens when you build the toolkit library folder. And we're going to see if this succeeds. I am not hopeful. Yeah. Undefined symbol. Once again, it is not happy with the... It's referenced from line 164. Well, what we can do is we can take a look at some previous examples. Let's look at MRU cache base. What does it do for destructor? I don't know if it even has one. Oh, yes it does. It does, and it just has it be empty. So maybe that's what we want to do too. Here, another thing we can do. Danny Colon writes, I guess I'd like experimental to be a place to manage new features developers are working on instead of flipping a bunch of prefs in about config. Fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah, we've had a couple of things inside of the experimental section. We've made some good use of it. Like, what's the sort of stuff that's here? Like the accessibility cache is a big one. The About Home Startup cache is another one. Oftentimes it's like platform will use this stuff. So you can, for example, turn on JXL or the WebGPU Web API. This is another one I worked on that I have on by default is the global mute toggles for camera and microphone feeds. It's worth checking these out. Building. So still not happy. Undefined symbol. Now it's different. It's a different undefined symbol. It can't find abort list. So does it actually want... Oh, did I not implement abort list? I didn't implement abort list. Did I not implement delete? I did implement delete list. Append node category. That's why it's complaining. I failed to implement one of the functions here, abort list. So that we can fix. That happens after commit list. Abort list. Just list manager, more like jump list manager. And then we're going to call abort list. Whoops. All right, what do you think of that? Yeah, if you're not familiar with the experimental section, I will take the opportunity to plug these global mute toggles. They're pretty neat. What they allow you to do is if you go to permission.site and you like share your camera and microphone, let's share my camera and microphone. I have it like gives you the ability to like have Firefox wide cutoff switches for sharing your camera and microphones. This will like cut all of the mic feeds for every tab or anything that's using the microphone in Firefox, and this will do the same thing for camera. And the only reason we don't ship that by default is because during our user testing we found that users would quickly get confused about having multiple layers of mute, where if they muted their camera in like Google Meet and then muted it here, they would be surprised, or when they looked here, they'd be surprised that they didn't mirror one another. You know, they would expect this to be in the same state as the mute button for Google Meet. And yeah, so we had to, this has sort of been left to languish, but the powers are still there, so you can use them. Still no good. Now what are you complaining about? We are making progress. Set app ID is now missing. Did I miss set app ID? No, it's right here. Did I define it wrong? Virtual set app ID referenced by VF table undefined symbol. All right, all of these are undefined symbols. So it's just complaining about all of them. Maybe I just don't know how to do a virtual class. C++ interface virtual. Okay, this is a pure virtual function. This is not a virtual function. This is a virtual function. Oh, notice that it like says like equals 0. I wonder if that's what we need. Virtual. Well, let me do this. I'm just kind of guessing here, but I wonder if this is what it wants. Sometimes programming is just trying to give the compiler what it wants. SmurfD coming in with the truth. With great power comes great responsibility. It's true. I mean, I completely sympathize with you, Danny Colin, because the more we can get users to not use about config, the better. Because these aren't just things that, some of these are not for playing with. Some of these are like internal state that were you to flip or change one of these unexpectedly, Firefox might just like stop working properly. That's one of the reasons, for example, why we don't make about config available for users on Android, because the recovery scenario for messing with about config on Android is just brutal, because I think you have to do basically a full reinstall. We don't want people to have to do that. Still not happy. Only special members can be defaulted. Okay, so how about 0? Hang on, I think there's a faster way. All right, what do you think of that? Yeah, oftentimes whenever, like I've seen people complain about not having access to about config on Android, and I understand that there are some things that people want to tweak there, but the error, the sort of the failure case is just a disaster. Holy smokes, I think it compiled. I think it linked, everybody. If that's the case, we're committing. And then we can start, laying the groundwork for this test that we're trying to write and that we've been trying to write for like what feels like months. Parking lot? What are these things? Okay. It built. Amend. HG. Amend. And now we can start thinking about our... well, first of all, does it still work? Because we've effectively put this shimming layer in between in between us and like with the jump list manager. Jump list manager is now one of these things, a new jump list manager. Always pass in our proof of lock. So there's like a bunch of dead code in here I guess we can eventually get rid of. That's nice. All right. Let's see what happens when we run it. Let's see if it even, like, what happens. Yay, I see a yay from Fireglow. I see, couldn't load XPCOM. That's not good. Oh no. All right, let's see what happens if we just run a straight mock build. Why wouldn't it be able to load XPCOM? That's a bad sign. You definitely need XPCOM. Reverting your hooray? Well, give us a second. I was doing like minute builds and I just built the DLL, but I didn't do a full like mock build. So maybe this is all we need to do. And if this works, then yeah, we can start building our G-test, which I've never written G-test before. I don't know how that's going to go. But we can start by trying to construct our special implementation of Jump List Manager base, which we can instrument, to do various things. Yeah. And I think last episode we also saw some techniques that we can use to spin the event loop to await promises in our G-tests, which I think by default our G-test mechanism, like the Google test G-test stuff, doesn't have like an await sort of thing, but we can spin the event loop while we await a promise to resolve. And we figured out how to do that a couple weeks ago. So I think we have everything we need. Curiosity. Lock is M monitor. Is that's probably a private, yeah. Private. Wow. Waiting for this build to finish. Not my favorite. Not my favorite. But it sure thinks that my metrics are clean. And my opcodes are okay. So I'm hoping that this is going to fix our XBCOM not loading problem. Once it figures out what it's trying to do. Do I have my... You know what? I could probably speed things up by shutting off this virtual machine. Power off. Or let's suspend. Suspend this virtual machine. That'll probably help. Okay. Now let's try and run. Does it still complain about XPCOM? No, but we don't have a window yet, but that's okay. I think we're still starting up. It's a debug build, so this is going to take a couple of minutes. Not minutes, but take a couple of seconds to get... It's not optimized. We got to get to the point where we can draw a browser window. Let's go here. Ba-doop, boop, boo. All right, well, while we're waiting for that, is there something else we can do with the migration wizard? Some other stuff just landed. What else did I want us to do? Migration wizard. Gotta get these icons filled out. Gotta fix that icon. Oh, maybe I'll do that. Okay, here's our browser window we got there. Super slow. Okay, now let's see if we can populate the jump list. So hooray, hooray, it's running. This is good. You can unrevert your hooray, Smurf D. You can re-revert it. Or unrevert? Unrevert. Yay. Yeah. All right, let's see. Do I have any history that I can use here? No, it's blown away. Okay, so we're gonna need to, I think I had this stuff in my clipboard. We're gonna get this builder, populate, jump list, and then what's the API? Some descriptions, a custom title, and some other descriptions. Okay. Test. Whoop. Okay. Yeah, let's just pass the some empty arrays and see what happens. I'm guessing nothing will happen. This should probably just error out. Ah. Pending. So we didn't crash. That's good. Do we have a resolve? Yeah, we got back nothing. Okay. How about... So we've got nothing here. Now, if I go into, what is it? Windows jump lists.jsm. I want to import that. builder. Is there like an update? Oh, you know what? I need to make sure that we're not using the legacy backend. That's the other thing. That's why this thing might be working already. Legacy. Yeah, it's using the legacy backend. Okay, so now that we're not using the legacy backend, I'm going to restart. Using the new backend. And then what I really want to do is I want to load up Windows jump lists and call. Oh, wait, hold on. Let's look inside the source code in here. I want to call build list. And that you get that from update on Windows jump taskbar jump list. Now, did we crash just now? We did. Hit Moz crash when we tried to release. So there's something, Moz hit crash, jump list manager not thread safe. That's not good. Not thread safe at SI supports impl 43. Current thread owns me. We release widget from the observer. The problem is that jump list manager thinks that it is not owned by the main thread. Jump list manager release. That might be a problem. I'll have to look at that later. In the meantime, let's just see if we can get, let's not worry about the crash just yet, or the ownership. Let's just get the new backend to work. Let's just make sure that we are passing stuff through properly. So actually, yeah, I'm seeing items here. That's good. And that this definitely went through the new mechanism, so that's actually really good. We can actually the wrong key combo. I was thinking we could open up the debugger and step through, and just double check and ensure. Crawling forward here. Oh boy, yeah, debug builds. What a pain. And yet we need them so that we can get information like this crash, which is still bothering me. Not thread safe. Auto owning thread, a certain current thread owns me. Owns me. Certain current thread owns me. Assert ownership. Auto-owning event target. Is that where we got this? Crash? I'll have to look at it later. Okay. Windows. Oh, I've got like the wrong context. This is the worker. I need to be on the main thread, not the worker. Put me on the main thread. This is intolerable. The line we want is this one. Okay, the fact that these are getting written to is pretty good. Like, pretty happy about that. That does mean that I think we're going through the right stuff. All right. Well, you know what? Unless I'm going to give ourselves 1 minute to confirm that we are actually using the right backend, and then we're going to start investigating this crash. I want to get that sorted. Okay. Build tasks. No, that's the old one. What? Populate. Here we go. Build list. All right, here we go. Setting a breakpoint there. Line 181, let's go. Come on, don't do this to me. Thank you. Okay. Here we go. We entered it just by hitting the timer. This is good. I really just want to know if we get down to here. So let's set a breakpoint there and here. Wish you'd stop jumping me around. Okay, play. Where are we? 201. Okay, play. $181. Again. Play. $242. All right, we did it. All right, I'm convinced now that we are properly using... Oh, geez, this took forever. I'm convinced that we're using the right backend. That's good. It works. It works. We're actually making stuff show up. We're passing through stuff directly to the underlying MS-COM thing. We've got our shim in place. The problem is that there's an ownership issue where we are causing a crash on shutdown. So we're going to remove all the breakpoints. We're going to shut down the debugger. We're going to shut down Firefox. And hopefully we're going to see this crash again. And then we can... Yeah, here we go. Jump list manager not thread safe. So who owns the jump list manager? Am I constructing it on a different thread? Jump list manager, new jump list manager. Is this running inside? This is running on the main thread. Is this a different thread? A Lambda on a different thread? Jump list manager. That would make sense to me. That what's happening in here is that we're off of the main thread. Ensure MTA. Yeah, this is on, that's why we're running it off of a different thread. CHH images in the multi-threaded departments that proxy calls on that object do not need to interact with the main thread's message pump. So how is this getting destroyed before the old mjump list manager? Wrap the interface and agile reference past the agile reference and allows you to unwrap a agile reference resolve. Multi-threaded apartment. Foo is an IFOO. My agile ref is passed to our main thread, which runs in a single threaded apartment. Now foo may be called from the main thread. I see. Maybe I have to do that. Except it looks like we were very intentionally instantiating this so that we don't have to interact with the main thread's message pump. Yeah, this is a problem. It's a problem because we've still got the old mechanism around, which still does some work on the main thread and takes locks and stuff. I didn't realize that this is happening in a different apartment in a different thread. Okay, so what do we want to do? What we might want to do, this is not amazing. This is not amazing. But what we could do for now is we could have a new method. This manager. So instead of doing this in the construction, we create a new method. Hang on. Void set jump list manager. And then what we could potentially do, I'm not super happy with this, but we could like say that, and then set jump list manager, or like set MSCOM jump list manager. Or maybe I'll call it set native destination list. That's maybe what we'll call it, set native destination list. And we'll just have like list manager, empty constructor. And then this we might also want a proof of lock here. Okay, let's see what it thinks of that. Let's see if we've fixed the crash. And if we have, we'll call it there. This is very awkward. I have a feeling that my reviewers are not going to be happy with this design, and that I might want to put up a work in progress and get some feedback early. Missing a... yeah, before I go too deep on this, it might be worth getting some feedback from some people who actually know what they're doing. So we might be at that point now. Which is good. I don't want to invest too much more time into like going down this route if it turns out that I'm doing the wrong things. So the good news is that like, no member name set native destination list. Did I not update the... New jump list manager. All right, well, I'll make that a virtual method as well. Whatever. I think this whole thing needs some rethinking. Ref pointer. Threads, am I right? What a pain. How do I best detangle this and keep both mechanisms? All right, well, let's just see if this fixes the crash. We'll start her up, we'll shut her down. If we don't crash, I'll feel pretty good about that. If we do crash, we have something to investigate. The week after next. Let's go, let's go. Debug builds. Debug builds are nice because they are very verbose, and so the logging is very helpful, or much more helpful than in an opt build. Their performance characteristics are just hot garbage. It is not a good time, both for building and for running. Okay, so we're just going to run. We're going to make sure that our jump lists get constructed. And then we are going to quit. And then we will see if we crash. Okay. Okay. Done. Here are our things. I'm going to shut this down. Do we crash? No crash. Sometimes we leak stuff on shutdown. Okay, well, we didn't crash, and that's good. I can work with that. So I'm going to amend. What I'm going to do is start cleaning this up and getting it ready to go up for review, just for some initial feedback from some of our comm experts and platform threading people who know this stuff. And hopefully by the time we have our next episode, I'll have that feedback and we'll have a way forward. That's the plan. Hey, thank you so much for watching episode 319 of The Joy of Coding. We got that thing to build. We got it to show that it was working, and we fixed a crash all in one episode. Pretty good. And I also showed how to check out the new migration wizard. We even wrote a patch for it real quickly. So I'm feeling pretty good about that. Pretty decent progress for an hour and a half. Thank you again so much for watching episode 319. Let me know what you thought. There's a link to rate the episode here in the agenda. I read everything that comes in. I love reading everything that comes in. Ask me questions. I'll try and answer them during the next stream. And just a reminder, there is no stream next week because I am traveling. So I will see you sometime in April. Have yourselves a great couple of weeks, and I will see you soon. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye. Hang on, gotta get this music. The joy of coding. See ya.